All right, cool. We got Brian Geltzeiler, Sirius XM Radio, NBA expert. Brian, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure. I owe you an apology for last week, guys. I had something come up on me. I would never do that to you. I'm happy to be able to join you now.
All good, my man. Really appreciate it. So, I got Warrior fans really mad at me today because I'm suggesting that Joe Lacob is the kind of owner who, in order to keep this thing going, he would be open to trading Draymond Green and or Klay Thompson if he had to. And my thing is do you really think they're going to retire Golden State Warriors? I just don't think it's going to happen. And, man, people get sentimental toward players.
Well, all right, so let's break this down for a minute. I think what you have to look at, and I think that theoretically what you're saying is not wrong. You're going to have sooner rather than later, you're going to usher in a new era of Warriors basketball here. We didn't usher that in this year. Probably, obviously Wiggins and I mean, listen, Curry's not so young either these days, but Wiggins will probably be a part of that next era. And you certainly saw, I don't know that anybody could have done a better job of guarding Jason Tatum in the NBA Finals than Andrew Wiggins did. But I do understand what you're saying. The problem is this, is when you trade guys, you want to trade guys at their maximum value or close to their maximum value.
Yep.
I don't know that you're ever going to get any kind of appreciable value in a trade for Draymond Green because you just can't make the case that he's going to be as valuable in another location as he has been with the Warriors. The way he has complimented, forgetting about Klay Thompson for a minute, the way he has complimented Steph Curry has been incredibly unique, and he has just he has known what to do, whether it's with the ball in his hands or the ball not in his hands, to get every ounce out of Steph Curry that he possibly can. And I don't know that he goes to another place and he fits like a glove with somebody like that. And I think NBA executives are well aware of that. And, Draymond doesn't come anywhere quietly. That's the way he is.
Right.
So, you kind of take something on with that when you bring Draymond in. Clay's a different ballgame.
Oh, go ahead.
Clay's a different ballgame because, again, guys, if I gave you a percentage of what Klay Thompson was compared to the old Klay Thompson in this season, in this particular playoff, what would you say? 70% of the old Klay Thompson? Does he ever get back to 100? Probably not, but if he gets to 85 or 90 next year with his legs underneath him and guards a little bit better and just seems to have a little more hop in his step, could you see a scenario where Klay could have value to a team? He certainly could have value to another team. And that is possible. I wouldn't rule that totally out. I can understand why Warriors fans would be sentimental and get upset about that. But I also will say this. I think what the Warriors did this offseason and letting the guys go that they let go, I think was smart. You're going to have to sign Poole to an extension at one point or another. Kuminga and Moody and Wiseman don't come that much later if you're going to build around these guys and still want to keep a couple of these older guys that have won 4 championships for you. Joe Lacob's paying, granted, he's printing money in the Chase Center, but he's paying a crazy dollar amount in luxury tax. And let's not forget this about luxury tax. To fans, it's a term, just luxury tax. And it's monopoly money that an owner that's making it is just paying it out to keep this wonderful product on the floor. But let's make it clear where that money goes. That money goes to the non-tax-paying teams. Joe Lacob is enriching the Warriors' competitors by paying this level of tax each and every year. And as a man who runs a business, he has every right to want to control those costs to a certain extent. And that's not something fans want to hear, but I think it's a business reality for Lacob and the Warriors here.
Well said, Brian. My partner and I, we look at things different, and that's why I love them. And I can't believe Kevin Durant, as great as he is, Brian, is at this juncture to where he basically put the big 3 together with Harden. We saw that played out. I saw him in a tunnel when he was still with the Warriors, and him and Kyrie were whispering to each other. But guess what, Brian? They got their wish. But now he's gone public and requested to trade. Am I living in a naive world when I say, it's my opinion, I think he's getting a bit of a pass that he's ready to just leave Brooklyn and not fix it, rectify it, or lead. You say what to that?
Yeah, I think you're onto something. I got to tell you, because the truth of the matter is, he played a significant role in making that mess. This is a page out of the LeBron James playbook. Do what I tell you to do while I'm here. This is what I want you to do. And by the way, if your team president's not going to listen to me, I'll go over his head and talk to the owner, which is what Kevin Durant did, because Sean Marks didn't want to trade for James Harden. He went directly to Joe Tsai, and Joe Tsai directed where that trade came from. That Harden trade was a disaster. And Jared Allen's a guy who's a borderline all-star at this point. Karis LeVert, good player in this league. Think about how little pain the Brooklyn Nets would have felt with Kyrie Irving not being vaccinated and all the time he was out hurt if they had Spencer Dinwiddie to slot in that spot for him. They had it right when they brought in Durant and Irving and had all that depth and the team that they had. Kevin Durant wanted that sacrifice to play with his buddy James Harden. And in the end, I know people want to talk about the Kyrie and the vaccine being what turned Harden off. That was a smoking gun. James Harden's whole goal the whole time was to find his way to Philadelphia with Daryl Morey. That was what he wanted to do the whole time. The fact that Kyrie Irving didn't get vaccinated gave him his reason. Durant played a role in all of this. And yes, I will tell you, I know there's a lot of mixed reports on this. What I'm gathering is that Kevin Durant is not all that keen on continuing a business partnership here with Kyrie Irving. With all that said, I don't think he's going to get dealt here in this offseason. The more I see it, the more I think he's not going to. Well, listen, I don't blame Brooklyn. If you're Brooklyn right now, you want a Godfather offer. You want it all. You want everything. and this is their chance. They sacrificed their future on Durant's urging to go get James Harden and only got a little bit of it back in the Harden deal with Ben Simmons. So this is their chance to reload. And if you can't reload in the right way, and by the way, there's no incentive for them to be bad because they don't have their own picks. Houston's got all the picks. So for them, they want to be decent and want to have a future. Durant is their last chance because no one's giving anything decent for Kyrie Irving. So they're holding out a price. And if they're not going to get that price, they're going to expect Kevin Durant. They'll pay Kevin Durant. They're going to expect him to show up to training camp with this team. And to me, the telltale sign that they're not really close to trading Kevin Durant, not in a hurry to do it, they took away some flexibility yesterday in signing Sumner and in signing T.J. Warren. They now only have 3 open roster spots. And you guys just saw what happened in this Minnesota deal. They took like 5 players with the 4 picks Utah did. All right, the roster flexibility was huge for them in being able to make a deal where enough money went back. In a case like this, Brooklyn didn't want to keep that roster flexibility. Why? They're prepared to go forward this season with Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving on this team. And by the way, I actually think it's the right move because in the end, and what I would tell Kevin Durant, if I was Joseph Tsai, I'd tell him this. I'd say, listen, you made a commitment to us to come here for 4 years. The first year we knew you weren't going to play. We understood it. We were paying you to not play in the first year. You had 3 years on the floor. You've only fulfilled 2 of them. We know you signed that extension, and we're more than willing to trade you after this year if this doesn't work out and you still want to go. And by the way, give us a list of 3 to 5 teams, and we'll find you to one of your destinations. But we do need you to come this year, put on your sneakers, go hard, lead this team, and give it everything you have. And if after this year it doesn't work, we're more than happy to say goodbye. But you know what? Durant, because he signed that deal, by the way, without a player option at the end, which is quite odd in this day and age. Okay, but because he signed that deal, I think Durant's going to have no choice but to come there and try to see if he could lead that team. I'd be surprised if Kevin Durant is on a team that's not the Brooklyn Nets when next season starts.
You're listening to Brian Geltzeiler, Sirius XM NBA Radio, joining us today. All right, I want to go back to the Warriors for a sec because here's my point about why I'm even talking about the possibility of moving a Draymond Green or a Klay Thompson. Steph, 2 years from now, Steph Curry will be making in the high 50s. Draymond will be, will exercise his player option for 28-ish. Klay Thompson will be making over $40 million. I do not believe they will extend Poole for $20+ million and re-sign Andrew Wiggins for $30-ish million a year with Wiseman still making 12, I mean, I just don't. That's too big of a hit, I think, for the Warriors. They're going to have to offload some salary, I think, if they're to do that.
I don't disagree with you, Matt. I think the numbers get very, very big really quickly. Now, is it possible you can get Poole to sign a below-market extension that Wiggins won't ask for a larger number because he wants to stay in the situation that he's in? It's all very possible. But, you look at the younger guys, Wiseman you mentioned making 12, and then keep in mind, you're going to have extensions coming. If you like Kuminga and Moody and you want to keep them, you're going to have extensions coming. And the Warriors, the Warriors did some very smart things and were granted a gift all at the same time, right? So the gift that they were granted was a number 2 overall pick. Bob Myers made the best trade we've seen in the NBA in the last 10 years when he traded D'Angelo Russell to Minnesota to bring in Wiggins and the pick that ended up being Kuminga. And it was a brilliant, brilliant deal. And what was the precursor to that deal was having the wherewithal to say, you know what, we're going to bring Russell in a sign and trade for Durant as a marketable asset so we can still use that max salary. Keep in mind, they were not, because they were over the cap, they were not going to get to replace Durant with a max player. So this ensured that they were able to do that. It was absolutely brilliant. Yeah. But now you were able to do that. You were able to not have this core group of veterans with this championship pedigree that have won 4 times in 8 years, and you got these 3 guys, and now you have this really good group of young players in Poole and Wiseman and Kuminga and Moody that can take you to the next generation of Warriors basketball. One thing I always say, guys, when it comes to guys being drafted, guys being traded, context is everything. Where you land in this league matters just as much as how good you are or who you are, because you got to develop in the league. And guys landing with the championship Warriors are be wonderful for them. Jonathan Kuminga, to me, will be 3 times as good a player in Golden State as he would have been anywhere else because of what he's going to learn about how to play NBA basketball in Golden State. So they can keep this thing going. But to keep it going, you're going to have to be able to pay some of these guys when it's time to pay them. And as much money as Lacob is printing in that Chase Center, it's not a bottomless pit, Matt. I hear what you're saying. And there are going to have to be some hard decisions that are made. Now, listen, some of those hard decisions were, a couple smaller hard decisions were made here. Not matching on Gary Payton, letting him go. Not re-upping Otto Porter, letting him go. Those guys were important players this year. Rotation players mattered a ton. Frankly, I will tell you, I'm surprised they brought Looney back. I think it's smart. I think Looney was terrific, and I get why they did it. But it cost them a lot of money to bring Looney back, a lot more than Looney's pocketing. So, that's the kind of stuff, and those are the kind of decisions that have to be made. That's why what you're proposing, as preposterous and upsetting it is to a lot of Warriors fans, it's totally, completely logical in the NBA business world.
Love it. Brian, we'll get you out of here. I'm the guy that asked the random questions. I just followed you on Twitter, but I saw your avatar picture, and it looked like you were having a serious basketball conversation. Was that at a parade?
No, that was my avatar picture. I was at NBA Summer League, which unfortunately I'm not going to be able to do this year. But I was at NBA Summer League a couple of years back. We do at NBA Radio. We cover Summer League. We do live interviews with anybody that's there that comes up and sits at our table. We get a lot of really good names. We get Steve Kerr there on a regular basis. And I will tell you this, what the Warriors do for us at NBA Radio is something we're all very grateful for. Raymond Ritter is a legend. Love it. And the Warriors always roll out the red carpet for us. So listen to Sirius XM NBA Radio for your listeners when we're in Vegas.
Love it.
I guarantee we're going to get some prime Warrior guests, because Raymond Ritter is as good as they come. He takes great care of us.
Hey, Brian, thank you so much for joining us, man. We got to get you back at some point. Great stuff. I'm just watching our text line, and
they love you.
They do like you.
Yeah.
Well, it's always my pleasure, guys. Anytime reach out, I'd be thrilled to be on with you again.
All righty. Thank you so much. That's Brian Geltzeiler, Sirius XM Radio, NBA.
He was going, Steiny.